Hi, welcome to chapter 1 on electric charges and fields. Now before going into the details of this chapter, let's see some common phenomena that occurs around us. One is when you try to take off your synthetic cloth or say woolen jacket, and particularly in a dry weather, you hear some crackling sound while taking it off. Or say when you rub a comb with your hair, and if you take the same wrapped comb closer to a bit of small piece of paper, what you see is that the paper getting attracted towards the comb. Now here the question is, what must be happening in all such cases? So to understand all these cases, we need to know the concept of electric charges. Now here in this chapter, we'll see what is an electric charge, what are its properties, and then later we will also try to understand the concept of field, forces and potentials arising from these electric charges. And here in this chapter, the charges that we will be studying will be static in nature. Static means something which is at a rest position. And the study of the static charges, we call it as electrostatics. Now it all started from 600 BC when the Thales of Miletus, one of the founder of Greek science, first noticed that when amber is wrapped with a woolen cloth, it acquires a property of attracting a light body, for example feather. And then later in 1600 AD, William Gilbert did a systematic study on a similar substances which behaves like amber. And in his book De Magnete, he introduced a new word called electrica for such substances. In fact, this electrica is a Greek word for an amber. And later, many more such pairs of materials were introduced which on rubbing showed the similar property of attracting a light body. For example, a glass rod rubbing with a silk cloth acquires a property of attracting a light paper. Now in all these examples, the rubbed substances which showed the property of attracting a light body was said to be electrified or electrically charged. And then later, after many years, Charles Dufay of France, through his experiment on frictional electricity, suggested that the electric charges on various objects are of only two kinds. Now let's see the simple experiment that he performed to prove this fact. In his experiment 1, he took a glass rod. Let this be the glass rod. And with the help of a silk thread, he hanged it to some rigid body support. Then he rubbed the same glass rod with a silk cloth. Let me write rubbing with a silk cloth. Now what we know is that when any two bodies are rubbed with each other, the body acquires a charge. Now here in this case, the glass rod is being rubbed with the silk cloth. So what I can say is that the silk cloth must have acquired some charge. So I can write this as my charged silk cloth. In the same way, I can write this as my charged glass rod. Then he took another similar type of charged glass rod, and when he brought it closer to this particular setup, what he observed that there was a repulsion between these two charged glass rods. So let me write this as a repulse. Now this was the first part of his experiment 1. In his second part, he changed the materials. He took a charge, he took a plastic rod and again hanged it with a silk thread, and here this time he rubbed this plastic rod with a woolen cloth. So plus rubbing with a woolen cloth. Now again, when the two bodies are rubbed, they will acquire a charge. So let me call this as my charged woolen cloth and a charged plastic rod after rubbing. Again, he took another similar type of charged plastic rod, and when he brought it closer to this particular setup, what he again observed was the repulsion between these both the charged plastic rods. And then in his third part of his experiment, he took a charged glass rod, which was again hanged with a thread, and a charged plastic rod, charged plastic rod, and when he brought them closer to each other, what he observed that there was a attraction between both the rods. So let me write attracts. Now this was an observation for the experiment 1 that he made, and in his experiment 2, he took two pith balls, neutral pith ball, which was again hanged with the help of a silk thread, and let this be the two neutral pith balls. And in his first part of this experiment 2, he made both the neutral pith ball to be in contact with the charged glass rod. So in his experiment 2 part 1, what he observed that when you touch a charged glass rod to this neutral pith ball, what happens is the repulsion between these two pith balls. So it repelled. I can say repels. And in his part 2, when he tried touching a charged plastic rod to both this neutral pith ball, once again he observed a repulsion, a repulsion between these two pith balls. But in the third part, when he touched one of the pith ball with a charged glass rod and the other pith ball with the charged plastic rod, what he observed was the attraction between these two pith balls. So I can say attracts. Now if you see this, both the experiment, what I see is just a repulsion and attraction between these rods and the pith balls. Now from this experiment 1, if you see this part 1 and the part 2, this both shows the repulsion, whereas the part 3 shows us the attraction. Now here the point to note is that if you see the rods, here both the rods that we have taken are of the similar type, and the same is over here. But when you look at the experiment part 3, both the rods are of different types. So an experiment on frictional electricity suggested that there are two kinds of charges. Now here, when you see the first part and the second part of the experiment 1, what I see is that both the rods are similar and they show us the repulsion. So what I can comment is that a like charges repels, and from this part 3, what I can say, unlike charges attracts. And this is called as the fundamental law. We call this as a fundamental law, laws of electrostatics, Now when you see the experiment 2, the experiment 2 also behaves in the same way as the experiment 1. Now here what we are doing is that a touching of a charged glass rod or else a charged plastic rod with this neutral pith ball. So what I can say is that there must be some transfer of the electric charges from this charged rod to this neutral pith ball, and thereby you see a repulsion and an attraction between this pith ball. So I can say on rubbing, the charges are transferred. The charges are transferred from one body to the other body. Now, when you see the experiment 1, in his experiment 1, when he did a cross-checking with the materials, that is, when he tried to get a charged plastic rod closer to this charged silk cloth, what he observed that there was a repulsion between these two bodies. And when he tried to bring a charged woolen cloth closer to this charged glass rod, what he observed was that again a repulsion between these two bodies. But if you see the third part of this experiment 1, a charged glass rod attracts a charged plastic rod. Now from this, what one can say is that the charge that is available on the glass rod is completely different than the charge that is available on the silk cloth. So both are having a different charges. So I can say a unlike charge. The same thing is over here, they will carry a unlike charge. Now I can say that a pair of object on rubbing acquires opposite charges. And then when he tried to bring a charged glass rod back in contact with the same silk cloth that was earlier used to rub this glass rod, when he tried to bring them closer to each other, what he observed that there was no sign of attraction, although both the bodies carries a different charge on them. Now what it tells us is that when you take two bodies rubbing each other, and if you separate them for some time, then the charge which is induced on both the bodies will be lost in the atmosphere. And after some time, when you recontact both the body, there are no charges available on body to show any sign of attraction or else a repulsion. So one can say that the charges are lost after some time, and now if the same experiment, okay, the rubbing of two bodies, now after rubbing, if I separate both the bodies for a very short duration of time, in that case the charges which are induced on both the bodies according to the point 3, they will be opposite charges. So when I recontact them after a very short duration of time, the unlike charges which is acquired by both the bodies will neutralize each other effect and will show again, once again, the net charge will be 0. So this was the property that made the naming of the charges as a positive charge. What we know is a positive charge and a something called as a negative charge. And these names were given by an American scientist named Benjamin Franklin. So these are the naming that is given for the charges. It's like adding a +2 to the -2, that will give you an answer to be a 0, which is again a neutral. Now here, by conventions, the charge on the glass rod is considered to be of positive, whereas the silk cloth here is considered to be of a negative charge. And here in this part 2, the plastic rod, we consider the glass rod to be negative and a charged woolen cloth to be a positive. So the same thing, what I can say for the experiment 2, when you touch this pith ball with the rods, charged rods, in the first part it will acquire a positive charge. Here it will acquire a negative charge, and at the end one charge will be a negative and the other charge will be of positive. So that's all from this frictional electricity. Now let's see the electronic theory of this frictional electricity. Now all that we know is that when a body acquires some charge on it, the body is said to be electrified or charged, and if no charge is found on the body, then the body is said to be neutral. Normally, if you see any matter in a bulk, it is found to be electrically neutral, which means no charge on the body. Now the question is, what makes this matter to be electrically neutral, or what is the actual reason of getting a charge on a body? To understand this, we need to know a little bit about a matter. Now all we know is that a matter is made up of n number of atoms and molecules. And if you see the atomic structure for a single atom, it consists of a central nucleus containing protons and neutrons, and electrons revolving around the central nucleus in their respective orbit. So this is the first orbit, which I can write it as n is equal to 1, or else which is also called as a K shell. In the same way, we can also have many more orbits in which the electrons will revolve around this central nucleus. So let this be the third orbit, which I can write it as n is equal to 2, and this is my L shell. For n is equal to 3, it's my M shell. Now here, if you want to know the number of electrons in each of this orbit, we can calculate it by number of electrons in any orbit is given by 2 times the n square. So here if I say n is equal to 1, that's my first orbit, then the number of electrons in K shell will be equal to 2. For n is equal to 2, the number of electrons in L shell will be equal to 2 2s are 4 and then 2 8. For n is equal to 3, the number of electrons in M shell will be equal to 18, and it will go on. Now if you want to write the chemical formula for any element from your periodic table, you can represent it as X, A, Z, N, where X is your unknown element from your periodic table, and here where A is equal to the mass number, which is the total number of protons plus the number of neutrons. Z is the atomic number, which is just the number of protons present, and N here is equal to the number of neutrons. Now here we are interested in the charges. Now I see a protons and a neutrons in the nucleus and the electrons revolving around this nucleus. Here the proton is considered to be of positive charge, and electron is considered to be of negative charge by convention. And here the same thing, I can write it as plus E and this as my minus E, where E is the charge, and the value for this E is equal to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Now if you see the atom as a whole, it carries a two different charge. One is the charge that is carried by the proton and a charge carried by the electron. Now here the neutrons are neutral, so they don't carry any charge, so no charge on the neutron. Now one can easily say that, looking at the entire matter, okay, a matter is made up of n number of atoms. So here the positive charge is coming from the proton and the electron is giving me the negative charge. If the number of proton are equal to the number of electron, let me write it. If one can easily say that if the number of proton, or else let me say total number of protons is equal to the total number of electrons available in the matter, then the charges will be balanced. Then the charges are balanced. I can say charges are balanced. So they will nullify each other's effect, and the body, the matter that you are talking about will be electrically neutral in state. Coming to the second point, what is the actual reason for getting a charge on a body? To electrify any body, what we do is adding or removing of charges that are positive and negative charges. Now coming to the atomic structure, here the electrons which are very close to the nucleus are tightly bounded, and the electrons which are available in the outermost shell are loosely bounded with this nucleus. So the electrons from the outermost shell can be readily exchanged during the rubbing, whereas the protons are firmly bounded in this nucleus, so they are not easily detachable. So only charge that is left to us is the electrons from the outermost shell, and to take out this electron from the material, what we require is the energy, and that energy which is required to remove these electrons from the material, we call it as a work function, which is given as a phi value. Now suppose if two bodies are rubbed, say B1, body B1 is rubbed with the body B2. In this case, what we know is that when you do a rubbing of two bodies, both the body will acquire some charge, and the charge will be opposite in nature. Now here the electrons will, from the body having, suppose the body B2, if you compare their work functions, if suppose the body having a lower phi and suppose this have some higher phi value, okay, so what will happen is the electrons from the body having a lower phi value will go to the body having a higher phi value. So this is how the electrons will get transferred. Now to be more clear, let me take an example of a glass rod rubbing with a silk cloth. Now when you take a glass rod, let this be my glass rod, and when I rub this glass rod plus rubbing with a silk cloth, rubbing with a silk cloth, let this be the silk cloth, and this is the glass rod. So here when the glass rod is rubbed with the silk cloth, the glass rod transfers the electrons from its body to the silk. So when there is a transfer of electrons from the glass rod to the silk cloth, what happens is that there is a imbalance in the charges of the glass rod. And the glass rod, here I can say, just for the example, if suppose before rubbing, let me say before rubbing, both were neutral, before rubbing both were neutral. For example, suppose the glass rod carried a plus 10 charge, let me write plus 10Q, and a minus of 10Q, that will give me the answer to be a 0, so that was a neutral. And for the silk cloth, suppose it carried a plus phi q and minus phi q, and this was also to be a 0, that was the initial. But when you rub, the glass rod transfers the electrons to the silk cloth. So what will happen after rubbing, so this plus q will be same. Here there is a transfer of negative charge, which is your electron. Now suppose it's transferring only one electron, so in that case this minus 10q will become to a 9q, And if you calculate the overall charge of this glass rod, plus 10 minus 9q will give me a 1q. And same for the silk cloth. The silk cloth is gaining the electron. So here the plus 5q, we know there won't be any change, but here there is an excess of electron. Here there is an excess of electrons. So minus 5q will become to minus 6q, which will be equal to minus 1q. So what I can say is that the overall, if you see, the charge on the glass rod is positive. So I can say this glass rod will carry a positive charge, and a silk cloth will acquire a negative charge. But if you see the overall charges for both the materials, you will find that they are almost same. Because at the initial start, if you see, nothing to worry about the plus q. Okay, if you look at this minus 10q and minus 5q, the overall negative charge is 15, and the overall positive charge is also 15. And after rubbing, if you calculate the number of positive charge, here it's a plus 10q and 5q, so it's the same as the initial 15q. Whereas when you look at the negative charge, this is minus 9q and minus 6q, which is again the same as of the initial charge, initial negative charge, which is minus 15q. So what I can say, that the charges are conserved. Now here a small point to note is that the electrons that are being transferred from one body to the other body on rubbing are the electrons that are being available in the outermost shell. So the number of electrons that will be transferred during the rubbing will be a very few if you compare with the overall electrons that are available in the matter. Now the next question is, what happens to the mass of the body during charging? Now here the electron has also got some finite mass. So when there is a transfer of electrons from one body to the other body, here the glass rod is sharing an electron with the silk. So the glass rod is acquiring a positive charge. That means here there is a deficiency of electrons. So definitely when there is a deficiency of electron, the positively charged carrying rod, okay, will decrease in the mass, and here there is an increment in the electrons. So the silk cloth carrying a negative charge will increase by its mass. So that's all from the electronic theory of a frictional electricity. Till now, what we have seen is the experiments with insulators rubbing with a silk or a woolen cloth. Now, what if I hold a metal rod in a hand and rub it with a woolen cloth? What will happen with the metal rod? Will it charge? Now, knowing a basic difference between a conductor and an insulator will help us in getting an answer for this question. So, what we know is that any substance that easily allows the passage of electricity are called as a conductors. And for example, you can say metals, human body, animals, earth, etc. And any substances which offers a high resistance for the passage of electricity are called as insulators. Example: glass, plastic, nylon, wood, etc. Now suppose if I take a copper wire and connect end of this copper wire to a neutral pith ball and the other end to a negatively charged plastic rod. Now here, copper being a good conductor of electricity will easily allow the transfer of this negative charge from the plastic rod to the neutral pith ball. So here the pith ball will acquire some negative charge. Now if the same experiment is repeated with a nylon thread, again one end to the plastic rod and other end to the neutral pith ball. So here what you will notice is that there is no transfer of the charges from this plastic rod to this neutral pith ball because the nylon is your insulators. Now a difference between a conductor and an insulator is that when you transfer any charge through a conductor, it will readily distribute the charges over its entire surface. Whereas when you put a charges on an insulator, they will stay at the same place. Now coming back to the question that when a person holding a metal rod, let this be the metal rod which is rubbed with a say woolen cloth. Now what happens is that when you rub, the charges which are induced on this metal rod are licked. This is your human body and let's say this is the earth. Now what we know is that earth and the human body are a good conductors. So any charge that is induced on this metal rod will lick through this human body to the earth. So you won't find any charge available on the metal rod. Now a technique to get the charge on the metal rod is that you can put some insulating handle to this metal rod and you see that you are not touching any part of the metal rod. So when you rub it, you are holding a insulating handle and not the metal rod. So in that case, the charges will be available on this metal rod. Now important point to note is that from this is that when any charged body is brought in contact with the earth, then its entire charges passes to the ground in the form of momentary current. So let this be the earth. And this process in which the body shares its charges with the ground is called earthing. Now the advantage of the earthing is that it provides a safety measures in the electrical circuits and appliances. Now if you see the electrical wiring in your homes, it's coming from the main supply in the form of 3-core wiring. And if you look at the switchboard, this is your electric switch which looks something like this, 2 terminals, small terminals down and a big fat terminal on the top. Now here this is your neutral terminal. The right side is your live terminal which brings in the current, and a big fat pin, what you see is your earthing terminal. And this earthing terminal, by means of a conducting wire, it is connected to a thick metallic plate which is buried into the earth. This is your earth. Now, when you put the plug of your electronic appliances, if you see the plugs of your electronic appliances, they are somewhat like this, which is going to the your, let this be the appliance, okay, some electronic appliance, for example iron, washing machine, refrigerator. Now if you see the pin, again here the pin also has got a 3 pins over here, wherein the 2 are very small, and again a one big fat pin. Now this big fat pin is connected to all the metal bodies of your electronic appliances, and when you connect this plug to this switchboard, what we can say is that the metallic part of your electronic appliances is directly connected to the earth. Now by chance, suppose there is any fault, or else if this live wire touches the metallic body of your appliances, in that case the excess charge that is produced on the metallic surface of your appliances will be directly transferred through this terminal to the earthing without any damage to the electronic appliance that you connected, or without causing any injuries to the humans. So that's the big advantage of a earthing. All that we have seen is the body getting charged either by rubbing or by getting them in contact with some other body. Now if you comb your hair very vigorously on a dry day, and if you bring the same comb closer to a small piece of paper, what you see is the paper getting stuck with the comb. Here the rubbing of a comb with a hair will induce some charge on both the bodies. But when you see a paper is a neutral in state, and all that we know is for attraction we require two opposite charges. So what could be the reason for the attraction of a paper with a charged comb? Or is it possible to charge a material in such a way that it does not involve any contact? Now to understand this, let's see a simple experiment. If you take a 2 metallic sphere, let's take a 2 metallic sphere, so metal sphere, and let me name this as the sphere A and sphere B, and if you make it hold on some insulating stand, so this is your insulating stand, such that both the spheres are touching with each other. Now let me show some atoms inside this spheres. Okay, so you will have, these are your atoms, and let's say this is your plus charge, positive charge, which is coming from the nucleus. So here these are your positive charge, and here the spheres are your metallic body, so it will have some free electrons. So let this be the free electrons for this atoms. And now if you bring a positively charged glass rod or else a positively charged rod. So this is carrying a positive charge. If you bring this positively charged rod closer to any one of the sphere, now here I am getting it closer to the sphere A. So what will happen is that these free electrons will get attracted with this positive charge. Now if you see these two spheres are touching with each other, so both the spheres are your metallic body that is a good conductors of electricity. So they will easily allow the passage of this electric charges from one body to the other body. So here what happens, if suppose a one electron is getting transferred, okay, or is getting attracted towards this positive rod. So let's take an example. This electron, is been attracted by this, one of the electron is getting attracted with the positively charged rod. So here what happens, there is a deficiency of the electron, which means there will be an imbalance in the electric charges, and this atom will acquire a positive charge. Like that, for n number of electrons getting attracted with this positive charge, you will see n number of deficiency in the atoms, and here it will look something like this. Now if you see this, when you look at the sphere A, I see a lot of negatively charged coming on the left part of the sphere A. So here I can say there is a excess of electrons, and when I see the sphere B, okay, on the right side of this, I see there is a excess of positively charged, excess of positive charge. Here excess of negative charge. And if I redraw the same thing, it looks something like this. These are your two metallic sphere, A and B, and this is your some insulating stand. And when you get a positively charged rod closer to this, you see a excess of negative charge, okay, on this part, and a positive charge on the sphere B. Now here, if you see this, the reason for this free electron to be over here on the left surface of the sphere A is this positive charged rod, right? So that means there is a force of attraction. There is a force of attraction that is making this free electrons to be on the left surface of the sphere A. Now after some time, what you see is that there are enough number of negative charge, and here if you see this part, the left surface of the sphere A will be having enough number of negative charge, okay, and after some time this part will act like a negatively charged body. It will act like a negatively charged body. So what it will do is that it will further oppose the incoming electrons. Now here there are also electrons present in the spheres B or else the sphere A. Okay, it's not that all the electrons are being available on this side. What happens after some time, okay, this part, okay, will start repelling these electrons, the incoming electrons from this side. So what I can say is that there is a force of repulsion. So here you will see a force of repulsion, and this force of repulsion is due to the, I can say, is due to the accumulation of negative charge, excess electron, okay, accumulation of negative charge on the left surface of sphere A. And after some time, as this region stops the incoming of the electrons, what will happen is that, and that is possible only when you see a force of attraction. There are two forces, force of attraction that is coming from this positively charged rod, and a force of repulsion, which is after some time force of repulsion. If both the forces are equal, then you will see the system to be in an equilibrium. So you call a system to be in this will be the equilibrium state. This will be the equilibrium state. And now if you see this, we have separated, the charges. And this phenomena of temporary separation of the charges or temporary electrification of a conductor, in which you will see a opposite charge at the closer end and the similar charge appearing at the further end in the presence of this charged body, is called as electrostatic induction. So you call this as a electrostatic induction. And now if I take this rod out from here, okay, what will happen is that there will not be any force on these electric charges. So these electric charges will redistribute themselves and they will go in the original neutral state. So that will happen when you take out the rod from here. Now suppose holding a rod closer to the spheres A, if you try to separate the spheres, okay, by small distance d, in that case what you will see is that both the spheres acquires a opposite charge. So here this is a sphere A and a sphere B. Both acquires opposite charge. And then after doing a separation, okay, if you take out this rod, okay, from here, the charge rod, it will look, the charges will look like something like this. So here when you take out the rod, okay, both the spheres are of opposite charge and they will try to attract. So it shows, attraction. But now here in this case, both the spheres won't touch each other because they are held by some insulating stand over at the bottom. Okay, so that's what you will see. And if you increase the distance of separation between both the spheres, let this be the sphere and one more sphere at some finite distance, this is again the stand. What it will do is that it will distribute these charges uniformly on the entire surface. So there's a uniformly distribution of the charges. Uniformly distribution of charges. And if you see the charge on both the spheres, they will be equal, okay, and opposite in nature. And this is called as a charging, we call this as a charging by induction. Charging by induction. Now coming back to the question of paper attracting a charged comb. Now when you rub a comb with your hair, a comb acquires on rubbing comb with a hair, what you see is the comb acquires a negative charge. And suppose this is your comb. This is the comb, and it will have a negative charge. And if the same negatively charged comb is brought closer to the small piece of a paper, let's say this is the small piece of paper, what happens is that the electrons which are on this closer edge of this paper gets moved away to the further edge, and when there is a movement of the electron, you see that at the same time there is a deficiency of the electrons on the same edge. So positive charges gets accumulated on this closer edge, and negative charges are accumulated on the further edge from this charged body. Now here as a whole, if I see this part is become a positively charged, and this is the negatively charged. And if you take a center of this, both the part on the small piece of a paper, you see they are separated by small distance d. Now what we know is that a magnitude of force depends on the distance between the charges. Depends on the distance between the charges. Now here if you see, this is your negatively charged body, and when you bring it close, this part becomes a positively charged. So here what you will see is the force of attraction between this piece of paper, and a same charge is also produced on a paper at the other edge. So here, from here to here, there will be a force of repulsion. Now this is a very small piece, a bit of paper. Okay, so here this is your force of repulsion. Now from this concept, okay, that the magnitude of the force depends upon the distance of separation between the charges, one can easily say that here the distance is very less, right? A distance between the negative and this positive charge is very less if we compare with the distance between this and this negative charge. So one can easily say that the force of attraction overweights the force of repulsion. So you will see if attraction, so you will see a attraction between a charged comb and a small piece of a paper. So that's the answer for the question. Now let's see how to charge a metal sphere positively without touching it. So here again you can take a uncharged metal sphere. So let this be the metal sphere, and again I need to keep it on an insulating stand. So this is my insulating stand, and this time I want to make this metal sphere positive, I said. So here what we can do, we can get a negatively charged rod closer to this metal sphere. So this is my negatively charged rod. So when I bring this negatively charged rod closer to this metal sphere, what will happen is the process of electrostatic induction. Electrostatic induction will take place. So what is this electrostatic induction means is that when you bring a negatively charged rod closer to this, what will happen, the electrons which are available on this metal sphere will move away from this, and they will get accumulated on the right surface of this sphere. Now, when there is a transfer of electrons from one edge to the other edge, there is a deficiency of this over here, so that will give us a positive charge. So these are the positive charge that you will see on the left side. Now here, if I want the metal sphere to be of a positive charge, what I have to do now is taking out of this, the negative charge from the sphere. And how I can do it? Just by connecting one wire to the earth. So this is your earth, or else a ground we call. Now when you connect one conducting wire to this sphere, this side to the earth, what will happen is that this negative charge will pass through this conducting wire directly to the earth. So here, when you connect a grounding to this, what happens is that all these negative charges will get pass directly to this earth. But at the same time, when you are connecting this grounding over here to the sphere, this positive charge will stay at the same place, because here if you see, there is a force of attraction between this positive charge and the negatively charged rod. So that will make it hold at the same place. Now what you can do is that you can disconnect this grounding from here, and when you disconnect this charges will be still hold at the same place, because there is a force of attraction still. Now if I want to make these charges, right now if you see this metal sphere is no more having a negative charge, it's all the positive charges. Now if I want to make these charges uniformly distributed on this metal sphere, what I have to do is the taking out of this negatively charged rod from here. And when you take out a negatively charged rod from here, there will be no force of attraction. So what happens to these charges is that there is no charge, there is no outside force acting on these charges, and this will be free to move. So it will be uniformly distributed over here on the sphere. So this is how you can make the metal sphere positively charged. Now, how to make the same metal sphere, the uncharged metal sphere, a negatively charged body? So here again, you can take, to make it a negatively charged, what you can do is, again you can take, let's say this is your uncharged metallic sphere, and again I need to put it on a insulating stand, and this time what you have to get is the positively charged rod closer to this metal sphere. So this is my positively charged. So this is my positively charged rod. Now once again, electrostatics induction will take place. So here what happens, the like charges goes to the further end. So let me say, so these are my positive charges, and the unlike charges will be available at the closer edge. So here, that is this electrostatic induction taking place. Now I want to take out this positive charge from this. What I do is I connect a conducting wire to this side, and I connect it to the ground. So here when I connect this side to my ground, what will happen is that the negative charges from the earth will come onto this side of this metal sphere, and they will neutralize this with this plus positive charges. So here there is a deficiency of the charges, right? The plus charge means there is a deficiency of the electrons. So this comes and neutralize this. So here all the positive charges will get neutralized. But again here, this side, the left surface, left part of this metal sphere will be still negatively charged, because again here there is a force of attractions. So these charges are bounded. I'll say there's a force of attraction on these negative charges. Now if you want to make this charges uniformly distributed over this metal sphere, what you can do is you can first disconnect this ground terminal. Okay, disconnecting this ground terminal will make this negative charge still in the same position, because there is a positively charged rod over there. Now if I want to make it uniformly distributed, I just take out this rod from here, and what you will see is the uniformly distribution of the negative charges on the entire metal sphere. So negative charges. So it will get uniformly distributed. So this is how you can charge the metal sphere positively and negatively without touching it. So thank you very much.